Well, staying with the question, Shakahola, on the outrage by Kenyans on the Shakahola deaths, blaming the government for its laxity in discovering the macabre deaths, has been loud. While the security agencies have been put on the spot, the case against Pastor Paul Mackenzie is now pointing to terrorism charges under the Terrorism Act. NTV's Melita Oletenges had an exclusive interview with the National Counter-terrorism Center acting director on the nature of the bizarre incident.
Thank you, Dr. Nyawira, Director, National Counter-terrorism Center, for making time for us here on NTV. My first question to you would be, when do you determine that a group is radicalized and draw the line and point out extremism?
The people in this center are experts on ideology. If, for example, you're talking about the kind of ideology you have really interacted with is the one that is coming from the extremists, from Islamic extremists. So by now we know when something is radical. How do we do that? We work a lot with interfaith groups. We have actually established strong interfaith groups that we take the religious leaders of that particular faith and ask them, is this mainstream, is this going for, especially when you start calling for violence, because you know a lot of people are radical. The thing is that we do not exhibit that radicalism through violence. When we start talking about violence, then of course we will have experts in that religion advise us on how extreme this is and how do we then return it to the mainstream. This information about Shakahola actually is out there in the public, that this man was even arrested, because there's people who came up and said something happening in this church, and he was charged in court, and then after that now it becomes I may not be the person in a point to tell you what exactly happened after that, because this is an ongoing investigation, it's a live investigation. Allow me to say on this matter of Shakahola that every religion has its extremists. Some may be violent, some may not be violent. What we need to do as a country is take this opportunity to ensure that we can regulate this area so that people do not practice their religion in a way that harms others, especially if the people that come in the way of harm are like children who do not have this capacity for themselves to decide they are being brainwashed or anything. So it is a good moment in time. It's a tragic moment, but also a moment in time that we can do the right thing, which is ensure that in future we don't have such instances from any religion, because it can happen from any religion.
There has been an uproar by Kenyans on this particular issue. They are saying that the NTC is working closely with the National Intelligence Service, and the question is, who dropped the ball in this case?
At this moment, what is important is to move forward and stop these things from happening, because this has happened in Kenya, but we have also seen it elsewhere, where people who we suppose are of sound mind get brainwashed to the extent that they are willing to do anything for the afterlife, which afterlife we don't even understand. So I would say, instead of passing the buck at this point, can we introspect and come and say, how do we ensure this does not happen again? And that should now take care of those that are violent against others and those that harm themselves.
How are you treating this case of indoctrination and a macabre of deaths by starvation?
It's a case of extremism. It's actually a case of religious extremism. And even though this one did not manifest itself in the kind we have seen, where someone becomes an extremist, embraces violence, and takes a gun or whatever means and kills other people. This one has brainwashed people to the extent that they are ready to actually commit suicide and die. So it's actually also a serious case of extremism. And like I said, it's a proper moment for all of us to come back and say, this has to stop, and not just for Christianity or for Islam, and for all religions. Come up with sound policies for that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nyawira.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the interview.